All right. Thank you very much to the media for waiting, as we are very excited. I'm Ray Flores on behalf of Triller Fight Club. We are getting set for November 27th at Globe Life Field in Arlington, Texas. The debut of Triller Fight Club's Triad Combat, a new sport that is merging the worlds of MMA and boxing, leveling out the playing field. We are very excited to be making this first jump with Triad Combat down at Globe Life Field in Arlington, Texas, home of Major League Baseball's Texas Rangers. If you can't be in attendance in Arlington, Texas on Saturday, November 27th, you can watch the entire show of Triad Combat on pay-per-view, including Fight TV pay-per-view, all brought to you by Triller Fight Club. This has been a very big first year for Triller Fight Club. We aren't even 1 year old yet. We started off last year at the end of November with the debut of Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield, that Legends fight. What a confrontation that was. And I mean, or Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr., I stand corrected. And that did 1.6 million buys. And Triller Fight Club continuously puts on unique and exciting and entertaining events for fight fans and musical lovers all over the world. We followed that up in the middle of April with Jake Paul's win over Ben Askren, including, Justin Bieber performing before that. And then we've continued the momentum with the Trillerverse shows with boxing before the entertainment. We had the Locks and Dipset to start it off in August. Also, Fat Joe and Ja Rule. And then we're just coming off of, KRS-One and Wyclef Jean, and really just doing some amazing things when it comes to Triller Fight Club. Now, next Saturday, November 27th event is going to be produced by one of the smartest minds that we've ever seen in the world of entertainment. I'm talking about American Idol, and So You Think Can Dance's very own Nigel Lithgow. He will be producing the entire show. But just to give you an idea of Triad Combat, we are putting the guys into a triangular, fighting space, and it's going to be contested over 2-minute rounds. And it merges the worlds of MMA and boxing, leveling out the playing field. The one thing that Triller Fight Club wants to do is see high, fast-paced, nonstop, toe-to-toe combat. And you're going to get that on November 27th. Also, it is a team sport because we are literally taking the world of boxing. They have one team. The world of MMA, they have another team. And in our main event on November 27th, you will see none other than Kubrat Pulev, the two-time heavyweight title challenger, coming off of a loss at the hands of Anthony Joshua, taking on the two-time UFC heavyweight champion of the world, who I'm getting ready to introduce, the man who is no stranger to the bright lights and fighting on the big stage. Ladies and gentlemen, fighting out of Las Vegas, Nevada, Frank Mir, ladies and gentlemen. Frank?
Oh, sorry, they had me muted.
No worries. Hey, Frank.
You hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you great. Now, Frank, Triad Combat, it's a different world. It's a different sport. We're merging the worlds of MMA and boxing. What are your thoughts as you head into this main event matchup against Kubrat Pulev, the former two-time heavyweight title challenger?
I'm excited about it. I think that it definitely allows the MMA guys and the boxers to compete on a more even playing field. Obviously, an MMA guy stepping into the boxing world is a very difficult thing for us to do. I think I made a good showing of myself in my last boxing match, but still, when you fight a boxer in his water, it's like trying to fight a shark in the ocean. But that goes without saying, they wouldn't last one round with us in an MMA fight. If I could go and throw knees and kicks and allowed to do takedowns, there's not a boxer in the world that would last one round with me. So the fact that this in-between mixture of the rules allows me to fight from the clinch more specifically, I think makes it a lot more interesting and even to see who has the best stand-up with hands, basically. And I think that the 2-minute rounds makes it way more exciting. I like the small triangle. I'm bored by guys dancing around and feeling each other out, and I'm a professional fighter and commentator. So, I understand what's going on, and even I sometimes start yawning when I see guys play it too safe. I think the rule set really allows itself to be extremely exciting. When we're in the clinch, we either got to throw or we get broken up. I think that this makes it, there's not a lot of room to run. I think that we're going to just see, we're going to have to crash in the middle and see who survives.
And also, so that the media knows, you're not going to have boxing gloves, but you're not going to have MMA gloves. You're going to have specific gloves that allow for you to be able to grip and clinch, but they're going to be 8-ounce gloves. So do you think that with Triad Combat that we're truly going to see who is essentially the better striker out of the two sports?
I think so. I think especially when it comes to hands. Obviously, we're still not allowed to knee and kick, which adds into the striking realm. But I mean, they have that already. It's kickboxing, you know. And so I think as far as throwing hands in a clinch, I think this is much more akin to what people would be interested in. It also is a martial arts just to study. If you watch most street fights, they more look like this: guys grabbing each other and throwing hands and trying to lock up an angle on a clinch and be able to throw uninterrupted. You know, do you have takedowns? Yeah, you do. But when we see those in MMA, but as far as just two guys having a duel to see who's who's the better man, I think this is more akin to what people probably are used to. And so I think that the rules being very similar to bare knuckle boxing are great as far as allowing the clinch. But the one mark on bare knuckle boxing is because of the non-gloves, everybody cuts and bleeds, and it makes such a bloody fight. And that can, present its own problems. I think the gloves now allow us to clinch and maneuver in a very great way, but with the same protection from cutting, having leather on our knuckles.
Also, one thing that, is going to be that Triller Fight Club does so well, and you were a part of it back on April 17th with the Jake Paul and Ben Askren fight, is that the world of entertainment is merging into the world of combat sports, because Metallica, who is a legendary, rock group, they've been performing for over 4 decades. They're going to be performing a full-length concert over the course of Triad Combat. So you get Triad Combat, this brand new combat sport, a team sport, and then you get Metallica. I know you love your rock music, Frank, but what's it like for Metallica to be performing as you're in the main event as well?
Now, it's actually kind of funny because my wife and I first met each other. She's big time into music, and I had one CD, and it was Metallica CD. She made fun of me. So I've always been a huge fan, and in fact, so being in the back and actually get out there and perform in front of guys that I've greatly admired my whole life, my youth, growing up and listening to the music is, we play it in the gym all the time, and usually guys get hurt. So I think on the 27th it'll be no different. I think that we're going to listen to Metallica music and watch people get hurt.
So how do you prepare for something like this? This is something that we've never seen before. This is the first time out. I mean, the one thing that I remember hearing is about, the first time that, the UFC did a show and they had one in November of 93. Are you going to I feel like the same butterflies are going to play a factor into this, because you don't know what's going to happen in this triangular ring, 2-minute rounds, fast paced. You can hold, you can grab, but it's so unique and different. And I love what Triller's doing, but have you thought about how your preparation is like and what you're going to try to do in terms of executing your game plan? Like, how do you even come up with a game plan for this?
So I have a bit of an unfair advantage. We have a lot of guys in our gym at Syndicate that are actually signed with BKFC, and they're fighting. And so we've been sparring 2-minute rounds at least once or twice a week with MMA gloves on, because obviously you can't spar bare knuckle, it'd be short-lived, using 8-ounce puffy sparring gloves, the gloves we use to train in here at the gym. We've been doing this now for probably almost 2 years, training this way. And so when they say, hey, these are the rules set, I'm like, wow, that's everything we do except for spinning back knuckles. So about the only thing I've had to add to my repertoire was that. And so a lot of the strategy and whatnot is similar. We just kind of have 2 modes of training. If I'm fighting a guy that I know that I'm a better hands than, I'll keep the distance and use the clinch to frame and make sure that I'm not clinched in. I don't finish my punches in a clinch. When I know that I'm, fighting a guy that has great hands, like, fighting Pulev, I just make sure that every time I end a punch, we end up in the clinch, and we fight from there, keeping distance, keeping one hand on them at all times, and the free hand doing damage.
Also, the team concept, the fact that this is going to be team MMA and team boxing. Do you like that in terms of maybe galvanizing the guys and everything else? Have you guys spoken at all? Or I'm sure you'll be talking with the members of Team MMA when you get down to Arlington, Texas next week.
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of like it because, look, MMA, fighting, boxing, is a very individualistic sport. But now, that I'm more of a part of the team at Syndicate here as one of the coaches and part owner, my daughter, when we have multiple people on a card, it's nice that we all hit pads together. We all kind of train together. We all talk to each other when we're out, like, hey, what time are we going to hit the gym? And, what time are we going to go eat? Where are we going to go eat? And so I think that I would like to build that same camaraderie going into this. When we all land, try to get with Mitrione and whatnot and sit there and go, hey, guys, so let's, what time you guys guys working out? We can work together. What ideas do you guys have for what we're facing in the boxers, and make this much more of a team effort, and so that the MMA guys can come out with a 5-0 record at the end of the night.
Awesome. Well, I know we're going to turn it over to Bernie Barmazal. Questions from the media, as they are very excited for Triad Combat next Saturday, November 27th, Globe Life Field in Arlington, Texas. You can watch the show on various cable and satellite pay-per-view providers or Fight TV as well. All brought to you by Triller Fight Club. We want to thank, our entire team, Ryan Kavanaugh, also Torsten Meyer, Bobby Snarnovich as well, Nigel Lithgow. And Bernie, you have questions from the media, by all means, raise your hand. And then when we call upon you, unmute yourself and then come out with your question for Frank Mir. And then we'll await Kubrat Pulev as well.
Joined us now from Las Vegas. So you want to do a quick intro for Kubrat and his manager of Value?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now, before we get to questions for Frank Mir, I want to introduce the former two-time heavyweight title challenger, coming off of a loss at the hands of Anthony Joshua from Bulgaria, brings it every single time out that he steps inside the ring, now making that maiden voyage again with Triad Combat next Saturday, November 27th against Frank Mir. Please welcome Kubrat Pulev. Kubrat.
Hi.
Kubrat, how are you feeling heading into your matchup against Frank Mir?
Do you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I feel amazing.
What is this like for you, being a part of Triad Combat? What does this mean to you?
So it's very new. It's new. It's new fighting, new sport. But I hope we're very, very interested in fight sport, and I like предизвикателство.
It's a new challenge for me.
New challenge for me.
So when they called you, Kubrat, and offered you this opportunity to, fight in a triangular fighting space with 8-ounce gloves, but you can hold, you can clinch, what went through your mind when they gave you the call?
So I all the time, like in boxing, I like clinch, I like ring-ins, and then this was for me good because I all the time in boxing had so many clinches and punches who can't is it without rules. It's outside from rules. And sometimes I make this because I like very much, and yeah, that's it.
Do you also like the fact that this is going to be a team sport? So, you have team MMA against team boxing. You're obviously representing the boxing side. Do you like that? The fact that this is going to be a team combat sport with Triad Combat?
Yeah, this is maybe it's very interesting because the people can because it's different. It's MMA, it's different boxing, it's absolutely different sport. It's very interesting for all public that's to see who will better fighting. I think so.
And also, my last question to you before we open it up from questions from the media, Metallica, who is a legendary rock group, they will be performing throughout the night at Globe Life Field in Arlington, Texas. How cool is that you're going to be fighting in the main event, but Metallica is going to be performing during the course of the night down in Arlington, Texas on pay-per-view?
This is really amazing. I'm really I like very much. Metallica is the #1 in the world, maybe in this style music, and really for me it's great. I feel great, really.
All right, now I'm going to turn it over to Bernie Barmazal. If you have questions for Frank Mir, Kubrat Pulev. Again, it is Triad Combat, a brand new combat sport brought to you by Triller Fight Club, going down next Saturday, November 27th, Globe Life Field in Arlington, Texas. Tickets are available at trillerfightclub.com, or if you can't make it down to Arlington, you can watch it live on your local cable or satellite pay-per-view providers or Fight TV as well. Bernie, I'll turn it over to you. Questions from the media, raise your hand and then come out with your question for both guys.
Thanks, Ray. Our first question comes from Danny Segura from MMA Junkie. Go ahead, Danny.
Question for Frank. Frank, have you been able to assess the rule set already, like in depth? And what do you make of this new rule set?
Yeah, it was so close to the bare knuckle boxing rules as far as allowing the clinch and striking from the clinch. So I can hold with a plum, I can hold with an overhook, hold with an underhook, and then just work the body. The only things we really added that I kind of didn't was the stepping on the feet before we throw punches to create angles. Obviously not stomping, but holding the foot down. I think that's going to be a very pivotal thing going on in our fight because the fact that I'm a southpaw, Pulev is an orthodox fighter. That happens a lot with the stepping of the feet, but typically without shoes on in MMA, it really doesn't matter. The foot slides out so easily. That's why in boxing, it's not allowed because of the shoes allow much more grip and it holds. But now I have boxing shoes on and I'm allowed to step on the foot. So I thought that was an interesting aspect to the fight that we had to add to our repertoire. But as far as plum clinch and dirty boxing, obviously that's a part of what I've been doing for 20 years. And so, and then focusing on lately, since, we have guys and training partners and myself that have signed, doing bare knuckle fights, that was very similar. So getting the clinch without looking to knee and take down is something I've been training now for about a good 18 months.
Nice. And the next question that I wanted to ask you was, this has sort of been pit as leveling the playing field. Do you think it's level the playing field? Do you feel like it's a 50-50 here, or do you feel like either discipline has an advantage here in this new rule set?
Still, if we just break down statistically the amount of weapons I'm allowed, we're still not allowed to knee or kick, take down, and no submission. So it still very much removes a lot of the weapons from my toolkit, but it adds just enough, I think, allowing us to punch from the clinch and hold and wrestle. And look, there's just a difference between wrestling and then throwing punches afterwards that a lot of people, unless you're used to doing, it's difficult. There's a certain amount of physical conditioning that requires to get into a hard tie-up with somebody, a dirty boxing match, break, and then go back being loose and relaxed to be able to throw punches. And that's something I've been doing now for quite a few years. So I've acclimated to it. So I think in that sense, it does push the needle a little bit towards the MMA guy. But as far as 50-50, they allowed knees and throws, even if they didn't allow me to take them down fully as far as stay on the ground. I think that'd probably be closer to an actual statistical 50-50. But I do think that it does allow a few of the weapons that MMA guys have that boxers aren't used to.
And last one for me, you're a veteran of the sport. You've been around MMA where, at the beginning stages where it's kind of the rules were still being made. And as we got on, the sport became a lot more uniform. Did you ever expect that at this point of your career in 2021, you'd be involved in something new here? Because it almost seems like, that stage of development is sort of behind us, but clearly Triller reinventing the rules here.
No, actually, I thought that, I never would have thought. Obviously, it's kind of interesting. My life, when I ever write a book, I got the UFC in 2001, about a year after the Fertittas purchased it in Dana. And so I was there during that, resurgence and definitely the golden era of MMA going into, 2004, getting on Spike TV with The Ultimate Fighter, Forrest and having his phenomenal fight with Bonner and then bringing into the era of what it is now. So being a part of Triller now and being a part of this is, again, another revolution, I think, that's going to, really just add to the excitement of the sport. The 2-minute rounds in itself, I think, is massive. If I could, change anything in MMA, that's what I would change. Hey, make this a 2-minute round. We can make 20 of them if we have to. So that way there's, the same amount of time of fighting. But I think 5-minute rounds is just kind of like walking the 2 mile. It's not as exciting as watching guys run a 400 or shorter. When people go intense and people don't have to hold back, I think it makes for much more entertaining to the sports fans. And also, too, the pure martial artist to me sees it as more real. I'm probably not going to have a 5-minute fight on my way to the car if someone tries to take my keys from me. It's going to be real short, sweet, and vicious and violent. And I think that's what, you know, right now, this Triller card doing the Triad going to be symbolic of. And I'm very thankful for Triller trying to be innovative. You know, everybody sits there and tries to, hey, look, the UFC is the UFC. You know, no one's going to be that, you know. But, you know, Triller can own niche and going through, and obviously they're being extremely successful. And on a personal note, I mean, these are some of my biggest paydays of my career, is now coming over to Triller. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that it does well. And I think that it's extremely fan favorable and very, it's very entertaining to watch. And again, I mean, anytime you have short spurts of controlled violence, I think people are going to come be entertained.
Thank you, Frank. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Jeremy.
Hi, Frank. Hi,
Yes.
Kubrat. I'm going to start off with Frank. Frank, you're kind of talking about the income that you're getting from this fight and how it's lucrative. When looking across combat sports and kind of the pay inequality between MMA and boxing, you know, I'm kind of interested in your opinion if this is something that that bothers you in the state of MMA, and do you think that they need to keep up with payments for combat sports athletes?
Obviously, I mean, I'm on this side of it now. My daughter's jumped into the world of MMA, so yeah. Do I want to see promoters share more of their income with the fighters? Absolutely. You know, look, you can promote a show every weekend and have no issues. You know, we can only fight so often, and we're only gonna have so many outings out there. So to see guys be able to, you know, to get what they bring to the table, absolutely. You know, there's some guys I laugh at when they expect, you know, certain paydays where I'm like, all right, man, you know, no one's watching you fight, so you know, relax. You know what I mean? And I understand. You know what I mean? Look, if you know, Lesnar decided to fight tomorrow, he's probably going to make a lot more money than I am because he can sell more tickets. He has a huge fan base, bigger even than myself. But I mean, that being said, Brad Pitt would sell more tickets than he and I combined. You know what I mean? Because it's who wants to watch you. But if you're bringing in that revenue, do I think a percentage has to be shared very openly with the fighter? Yes, I do. And I think that's one thing that Triller's done a phenomenal job of. If you see the paydays that a lot of us are receiving now, I can probably speak for almost all the MMA guys. They're the biggest paydays of our career.
You had tested yourself really well in the ring against Steve Cunningham, kind of matching up against an elite boxer like that. What were you able to take away from that experience that might age you up against Kubrat?
Well, I mean, Cunningham is very fast and very slick fighter and can fight very well backwards. Kubrat is also a very long puncher with a great jab. I think that he's good when you're at the end of his punches. And one thing, I mean, I'll let the cat out of the bag. I'm not going to back up because I think if you take a step away from Kubrat, you're probably going to get your head thrown into the stands. You know, he's a very good puncher on the outside. So moving forward and bracing and clinching, which is one thing I tried to do a little bit with Cunningham, you know, but I tried to also win on the outside. And when I came in, just that fight, I had many difficulties as far as trying not to do MMA type of stuff, like the overhook and the underhook and throwing punch with the clinch. You know, I brought in a couple guys who are professional boxers, and they just kept telling me in the middle of our sparring rounds, hey, man, that's illegal. Hey, man, can't do that. And so actually, I brought in some of the same guys for this fight, and it was great because the first couple of days sparring again, I'm like, I can do this now. This is legal. And it was and they're like, man, that is frustrating. I'm like, I know, right? Like, finally, I have tools that I can use to my advantage.
Thank you, Frank. Question for Kubrat. As far as kind of working into
Yes.
Triad Combat, what does that mean for your boxing future? Do you plan to do both, or are you seeing this maybe taking priority over boxing?
So I don't close this door with boxing too, but this is new sport, new generation, and boxing. That's why I try to fight here because it's very interesting for me too, and why not the next year I can make one boxing fight too.
Sounds good. Thank you, gentlemen, and best of luck.
Thank you, Jeremy. Our next question comes from Jason Burgos. Go ahead, Jason.
Hey, For this person, this question for is Frank. Frank, you have abilities beyond just the physical part of fighting. You have a great mind for the sport, wealth of knowledge, and of course, you have a commentary experience on your belt. Is this deal with Triller purely as a fighter, as an independent contractor, or do you expect for them to really make use of your various skills beyond just fighting to kind of help grow the brand, to help grow Triad and make it more fighter fan friendly than maybe the UFC is?
Yeah, I've actually put my hat in there, put my name in their hat and explained that I would like to also do more commentary and more ambassador work for them. And so, especially after, going back listening to De La Hoya, I was like, hey guys, you put a lot of money behind this. You might want to have a professional commentator who's fully sober, ready to do this. Hey, Sean, and I believe it'll be Chris Lytle is going to be commentary. And honestly, they're phenomenal. A lot of guys that have backgrounds in both boxing and MMA and kickboxing. And so I really feel that the commentary is going to be phenomenal on this one. But obviously on the next Triad, if I'm not on the card, I would like to be a commentator just because of my ability to, I think things are more interesting to people when you fully understand the nuances of what's going on. And I firmly believe, especially when it comes to MMA, I'm second to none when it comes to explaining in layman terms what's occurring during the fight, what's going on, which fighter's looking for, what's the game plan each one's bringing to it, and explaining it again, not by terms like oh, he's going for a crackhead control and he's got a Merkel position. It's like, well, no, there are people that are just watching. I like to commentate so that someone's mother-in-law can be sitting in and understand what's going on. Like, oh wow, I'm entertained and I understand now what they're doing.
After the Cunningham fight, would you say that like you're done officially as an MMA fighter, certainly not done as a competitor? Would you say your transition now is full-time as either a boxer or now as a Triad competitor?
Well, my wife likes it better. I mean, there's a concussion aspect that, obviously the boxing and the Triad is going to bring. But as far as on your joints, rolling around on the back of my neck, trying to throw in a hook on somebody, at times, I'm 42 and, she sees all the ice packs afterwards from an MMA practice. But no, I love martial arts. And look, man, I love to compete. I like to fight. I really do. I enjoy fighting. The fact that I get paid to do it just makes it to where I can do it full time. And that way my wife, when I say I'm going to the gym, she gives me a kiss and has a good time, enjoy. Whereas other people, look, there's millions of people in the world that love to fight, compete, and train. They do it for free. Hell, they actually pay for it. I was just at the jiu-jitsu con where my daughter won her weight class in blue belt. And, you got 2,000 competitors there, all coming out of their pocket to play for flights, hotel rooms, entrance fees, and they're all competing. So the fact that if you sit there and go right now, look, I had maybe possibly a grappling match in September. And it got postponed. And so I train everything all the time. I'm constantly, I'm not going to lie, I don't train the gi a lot. I'm sorry, Drysdale, he and I have different, but as far as no gi grappling, MMA, boxing, I train every discipline throughout the week constantly because I'm in love with it. I love competing. I love martial arts.
All right. One last question. Since you're the most well-known, respected player on your team, are you hoping before fight night to get the hockey style captaincy on your uniform or gear, or are you hoping to be called and designated as player captain team coach?
You know what, I'll just let it play out where it does. I think that I'm out of experience, but as far as if we get there and our chemistry matches up and I can take any kind of position where it helps other guys feel focused and ready to go, because look, at the end of the day, people are going to talk about who won, the boxers, the MMA guys. And so, it's not just me out there competing. It's for the guys that I'm rooting for. And then I want to do everything I can to make sure they become successful too and they win. And whatever position I have to take to make sure they win, I'll take.
Thank you, Frank. Best of luck.
Thank you, Jason. Our next question comes from Cynthia Conte. Go ahead, Cynthia.
Hi, guys. This is such a new concept that Triller is bringing. And I'm just wondering, wait, can you guys hear me first of all?
Yes.
Okay. For you, this is, it's a new concept. You've been in the game for so long. Do you think us fans, and you even as a fan, are craving something like this, or just do you want to keep it traditional MMA versus, or MMA and boxing as separate sports? Because as you see how the world is turning right now, the evolution of sports, it's merging with celebrities and people who've never even boxed or been in an octagon. I just really want your thoughts on this, because I know that you are signed up for it, but just as a fan, do we crave this? Do we want this? I mean, we love blood, we love knockouts, but I just want your thoughts.
I actually think so. I think this is a niche that is actually needed. Look, MMA is MMA, and I think it's the purest form of, if you say, hey, these two guys are going to go in the parking lot and there's no weapons involved, and we're going to see who comes back. You know, that's going to look like an MMA fight. But you know, boxing itself, I mean, look, I'm Cuban. I love boxing. I think there's a very, you know, very beautiful science behind boxing, but it's also limited on what weapons you can use. And so there's a very high chess match going on. But I think this in-between era definitely fits a niche where it's like, all right, now we're going to see more of a street fight things. Because here's the thing, it's not easy for people to understand if you don't know grappling. Boxing is much easier to understand, but at the same time, the better you are at it, the more you'll understand, the more you'll get what's going on. But it doesn't take much. You know, I could take a friend who's never seen a fight to a boxing match. Oh, this guy's hitting that guy and he fell down. It's not rocket science. But obviously the nuances of how they establish that, the more trained you are, the better you'll understand. I think that this Triad is definitely right in the middle. I think that it adds the grappling aspect of MMA to make it much more similar to a street fight, because let's face it, a boxing match is not realistic because they're not going to have a referee that every time you grab each other is going to break you. That's probably the most unrealistic aspect of boxing when it comes to being in a fight. Once you lock up, you better be able to get yourself out of the lock or do something with the lockup and with the tie-up. And so I think the tie-up being included, it makes a massive change towards being interesting and more realistic to traditional martial arts. And the other thing is the 2-minute rounds. I think that in MMA, 5-minute rounds is just too long. You see guys dance around, hold people down against the cage, play the rules, score just enough. And I think that, you know, sometimes fans can be very bored by it. But that's not always us problem as the fighters. It's hard to go hard for 5 minutes. It's like asking me to sprint for a mile. It's not easy. But you say, hey, you got 2 minutes, you have to go hard. That's more, that's easier to accomplish. And then I get a minute break. So the intensity will be much higher. I think that also is something that would be very fan favorable.
Okay. And then last, I don't know if Pulev is on the call, but knowing you've seen his fights, what do you see that's going to be dangerous in his arsenal coming into this fight with you?
Oh, Kubrat's a strong fighter, has an excellent punch, very good European style. You know, his jab is excellent. His long left hook is excellent. Obviously, his right hand and even his body work on the outside is very good. You know, if you think that use a block up top, he'll drop it down low. I think Kubrat going forward is one of the most dangerous boxers in the world. I think him going backwards and me tying him up is going to be what I have to do to be successful that night. I think, you know, backing up is going to be a problem. But that being said, locking up in the clinch and making him wrestle and grapple and grind his muscles in a way that he's not accustomed to is going to push the needle.
Oh, well, good luck to you. I can't wait to see you guys in a triangular stage, as you guys call it. But yes, I totally agree. You are great on commentary. You're great on the mic. Thank you so much, and best of luck to you.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I'm here.
Cynthia, can you hear me?
Yeah, she ended her questions, Bernie.
I'm sorry. All
No
right.
worries.
Our next question comes from Dylan Boker. Go ahead, Dylan.
I appreciate you taking my call. My questions were for Frank, because BKFC has been mentioned in the context of some fighters you trained with, the familiarity with the rule set here, but also past BKFC dialogue with yourself there. Is there still plans to compete under that banner, or is there more of a singular path with Triller against a lot of these big name boxers?
Well, I mean, right now this is, I mean, look, I'd be lying if I knew about the Triad fight more than 30 days ago. Obviously, it's new to me, and I'm very excited about it. So I'm definitely pushing those waters. I'd like the BKFC because of the rule set of allowing the clinch in the boxing. When I first watched Maggiano fight Laba, I was very interested. I'm like, oh, okay, now they're clinching and fighting and fighting from the clinch. The one thing that, you know, now though, but adding the gloves, I think takes away that vicious cutting that seems to always occur in the bare knuckle fighting. So I think this is best of both worlds. And so, you know, if we're super successful on the 27th, which I foresee that we will be, I really want to push forward and do this more.
For sure. And just a quick follow-up, because Mir has been mentioned a few times for sure, and she's cornered you in past bouts there. I'm kind of curious, can we expect Mir to corner you against one of the more compelling combative tests that you've faced? And also, can you speak to the importance of having that presence in the corner?
Absolutely. Yes. No, my daughter will be there. She's one of my cornermen. And the reason why I do that is because this is what she wants to do for a living. She's a fighter, you know, and she's already has 2 professional fights. She's been pushing back and holding on her professional fight career for a little bit because she wanted to pursue winning nationals in wrestling, and she succeeded in that. So she's been pushing the wrestling a lot, which I'm a big fan of, because obviously we all know how important wrestling is in MMA. But we are picking back up again. She should be fighting again December 9th. So she'll be out there. And the reason why is I want her to see what it's like when I'm competing, to be there, look from the outside, so that she can learn about how to deal with stress or with aggression, how to deal with all the different. This is a huge platform to be fighting on. You know, hell, Metallica is there. Geez, it's going to be probably one of the biggest stages I've ever been on. And so her being a part of it acclimates her to it, because then it's not shell shock when she steps in there for her first UFC title, you know, and sees the amount of people cheering and screaming her name. It won't be the first time she's walked out to that. So, you know, this is just an advantage that a lot of fighters in her shoes don't have access to be able to walk into a main event and actually see it, feel it, and be a part of it, and be in the locker room, walk up into the, you know, up to that stage. And so that's why I have her be a part of it, so that way she can, you know, it's just one more thing to acclimate her to the intensity of what we do for a living.
Absolutely. Really fun career to follow along with in its nascent stages and everything, and really appreciate the insights, Frank.
Thank you.
Thanks. We're going to go back to Cynthia Conte for a question for Kubrat. Go ahead, Cynthia.
Hi, Kubrat. Can you hear me?
Kubrat.
Maybe he's on mute. Oh, shh, this is my baby.
Do you hear me now?
Yes. Can you hear me? Okay, Kubrat.
Yes,
I asked the question earlier to Frank, what your strongest tools will be going into the triangular stage. What do you see is going to be his biggest attributes and the strongest tools against you? Shh, Brooklyn.
So he's of course he's MMA fighter, in very good MMA fighter. It's amazing MMA fighter, and he have a lot of experience in MMA. And maybe because boxing is boxing, but he is Triad Combat is new, something new for him. Is maybe better because he know more than me. This clinches and a lot of things who not with boxing have contact. That's why I think he's more opinion have in these things, not only in boxing, because boxing is my style, my everything. Yeah, but he know more clinches, and maybe this help him in the ring in 27.
So knowing that you are a boxer and he's the MMA fighter, how do you go in as a boxer knowing that is your strongest tool going forward, and try for him not to clinch you, not to get into an MMA type of fight, and you keep it at a boxing type of fight in order to be victorious?
So I don't like to speak too much what I will do, because you know this is like one little war, but for sure will be very, very heavy for him, because I'm very combinative, and I can ringing, I can clinches, I can everything. That's why I'm prepared good. I have a lot of power, and I feel great to fight with him, because he's also a great fighter, and I respect him. but will be very heavy for him, really. And this is what is better for me. This is the time, 9 rounds, 2 minutes. This is really, for me, it's more easy as boxing, because boxing is 12 rounds, 3 minutes. It's absolutely different. It's very heavy, but now maybe it's different, really, because time is different and tempo will different also.
One last question. Who have you been sparring for MMA to get prepared for this fight?
So I have 2 or 3 MMA fighters, and I fight with I make sparring with him because the MMA fighter, his punches is a little bit different. It's not like classic boxing. It's not traditional boxing punches. It's maybe this is a little bit difficult for me. That's why I spar with MMA fighters, and I will be prepared for Frank.
Best of luck to you.
Thank you, Cynthia. Next question comes from Romania, from Agnian Georgiev. Go ahead, Agnian.
Thank you, Bernie. It's Bulgaria, not Romania, but
Bulgaria,
thanks anyway. Okay, first of all, I will start with Kubrat, and will ask my questions out of respect to my colleagues on English. Kubrat, when you received a call from Triad Combat to enter into the fight, and how you are going to adjust from preparing for Vitor Belfort and now for Frank Mir?
Yeah, it's different fighters, but it's a little bit the same because it's southpaw. Yeah, both are southpaw, and so it's like the same weight, the same big, and it's, for me, it's nothing so much different, not more difficult. I think both are very good fighters, and same thing. It doesn't matter. It's most important how I prepare, and I feel I'm good, very good prepared for this fight, and I'm ready.
When you received the call from Triad Combat?
So it was not long time, but I train every day before the call, before the offer. Before the offer, yes. And I train every day. I prepare, and in my plan was to have one fight and ended it this year, and I was prepared for that fight. But after that, they call me and give me this offer, and for me, it's very interesting because I like new challenges. I like new challenges, and I'm just I need to fight. That's why I said, okay, I don't think so long. So I think one day, and next day I said, okay, let's gonna fight.
One last for Kubrat. Are you doing simulations with a triangular ring?
Yeah, I don't make in triangular ring, but I train with small ring, really small ring, and I think it's same. So nobody knows what is triangular ring, but we'll see. I don't think it's so big difference.
Thank you very much, Kubrat. I've got 2 questions to Frank Mir. Hello, Frank.
Hey.
First of all, when you received the call to replace Vitor Belfort?
When it was about 2 weeks ago. I was already told I was fighting on the card, so I was training, but I was originally, I think, slated to fight Alexander Flores, and so I got the call from Malky. Monday night saying, "Hey, would you be willing to fight?" Kubrat, and I had seen Kubrat's fights. I knew who he was, and so I told him absolutely. If it steps up into a main event, I always want to be the person that rises to the challenge. Kubrat's a much more dangerous fighter, obviously, without saying than Flores is. So when the challenge was presented to me, I accepted.
And you already spoke a lot about Kubrat Pulev's strong sides, but as a professional fight commentator, how would you rate his performance against Anthony Joshua, and where, in your opinion, he made mistakes in that fight?
I think that sometimes Kubrat, when he steps back, his defense, he doesn't throw shots, and so he'll step backwards and he extends his arm to block straight punches. And I think that honestly, it really just came down to one punch. Anthony Joshua threw that lead uppercut, or backside uppercut, sorry, that came underneath of his lead arm, and it stunned Kubrat. And after that, I mean, Anthony Joshua was heavyweight champ of the world. And so I think that once he had him hurt, Kubrat was doing a good job of trying to fight back. He showed a lot of heart. But I think that, Joshua right now is very hard to beat.
One last from me. You mentioned that you were sparring with bare knuckle top fighters. So would you mention some names that you are doing trainings with?
Yeah, well, we're training for bare knuckle. I have a couple of my students here that were actually fought on the card. But then also I brought in guys that are have good amateur boxing careers and obviously professional fight careers. A guy named Leo Grachov is one of my main partners. 6'6" with an 82-inch reach. So, and he's a boxer. That's how he makes his living. He's a professional boxer right now. Young guy who's in great shape, who moves very well, and he's very hard to catch. And so I really feel like that's what we're gonna have to face on the 27th, is that Kubrat style. I'm just gonna have to try to get a hold of him after he throws punches and grab him and stay in tight. And so I was sparring a lot with MMA guys, but the problem is that they fight me in the clinch, which is good for me because it keeps me in shape for it. But now these last 2 weeks, I want to fight somebody that doesn't want to be in the clinch, that wants to push and get away and fight at boxing distance. And so that's what I've been trying to have my partners simulate, a guy who wants to avoid it. And if they don't, then it goes to my home. That's my house. I like to fight in the clinch. And so if, Kubrat fights there, that's what I've been training for months now. But now we're starting to prepare for somebody who's going to stay behind the jab, throw long right hand, and really look for uppercuts in case, as I'm coming in.
Thanks a lot for the insight, Frank. I'm sure you are going to make a great fight with Kubrat. Thanks.
Hello, Frank. My next question is for Frank Mir. Frank, what is your mentality like going into something so new and unique like Triad Combat?
You just got to make sure you focus on the task at hand. Obviously, some game plans and some things that I want to implement, and stay focused. Make sure that I stick to my strengths. Try to make sure I have no ego as far as if for whatever reason I see that I'm doing successful at the hands, for whatever reason, but not to stay there, not to stay in boxing. Sometimes some MMA guys get in trouble because they want to prove a point. I don't want to prove a point. I want to win. And so, staying on the outside and boxing clean with Kubrat, would be something I'm, don't want to fall in love with, even if I am having success there, is to make sure that we're fighting the clinch and make it a wrestling match as much as possible.
Now, my next question for you, Frank, is, do you have any idea, especially for the various people that follow you in your career, do you have any idea what's next for you, whether, it's MMA, boxing, bare knuckle, or even wrestling for you?
It depends on what presented to me. I mean, if you would have asked me this a month ago, I thought I was getting ready to do a grappling match coming up, and then that got postponed, and then this situation occurred as far as fighting in Triad, and so up until then, I actually went back to training MMA. I wasn't focusing on boxing because I didn't know that was what was going to come up. And then when this opportunity was presented to me, I take advantage of it. I think the important thing for me is that, look, I'm part of Syndicate. I'm one of the coaches here. My daughter's an up and coming fighter. So I'm always in the gym every day. This is what I do for a living. So I'm always working out, moving, training, grappling, striking, kickboxing. When guys have a boxing match coming up, I was helping them with their boxing matches. One of our students, Rashad, was going to fight a boxing match. I jumped in and sparred boxing rounds with him. And just did whatever is required of me. So that being active, I think allows me to be ready as a warrior to take on whatever challenge is presented to me. You know, again, I know I probably beat this like a dead horse, but you know, you walk to your car, you better be prepared what's going to happen. And I don't want to sit there and go, well, I've only been doing no-gi jiu-jitsu. I've only been doing boxing. I'm not ready for it. You got to be ready for everything and prepare and go out there and execute. And there's certain things as a warrior, certain concepts of combat that are universal, so they don't change. But just the tools that we use to implement our chess game, those change.
Thank you, Frank. And my last question is for Kubrat. Kubrat, how drastic has your preparation been for something so unique like Triad Combat that we haven't seen yet?
So not so much, but I'm ready for everything, and now we train also clinches, also everything what in the rules I can do it. That's why it's a little bit different. But for me, it's very, very important that I have condition, very good condition, that I have that I'm faster than him. This is the most important thing. I don't think we need to do it something difficult. This is between MMA and boxing is really interesting for me, and will be interesting for all people who watch this fight. But I promise it's coming good in very interesting fight.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank the international media for joining us. Ray's going to give us some closing comments. Kubrat and Frank, thank you very, very much both for your time today.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thanks so much, guys. Greatly appreciate it. And yes, we are very excited. Next Saturday, November 27th, Triad Combat brought to you by Triller Fight Club. Just to give you an idea on the coaches, from an MMA standpoint, you are going to get Quentin Rampage Jackson coaching the MMA team. Coaching team boxing will be none other than Shannon the Cannon Briggs. Those will be your two coaches, a part of Triller Fight Club Triad Combat. So that is what's going to happen when it comes to the coaching standpoint. From a commentary standpoint, it'll be myself, Ray Flores, alongside Paige Van Zandt and Sean Wheelock as well. So team MMA coached by Quentin Rampage Jackson, team boxing coached by Shannon the Cannon Briggs. Special performance by Metallica throughout the course of the night. Looking forward to being down in Arlington, Texas. If you want to watch it live, by all means on pay-per-view, your local cable or satellite providers, or Fight TV as well. Triller Fight Club, once again, merging the worlds of combat sports and entertainment. This brand new combat sport, Triad Combat, our main event, Kubrat Pulev and Frank Mir, should be a fun heavyweight showdown as we start off Triad Combat next Saturday, November 27th, down in Arlington, Texas. On behalf of our entire team, I'm Ray Flores. We look forward to talking to you next week during Fight Week in Arlington, Texas at Globe Life Field for Triller Fight Club's Triad Combat. Have a great one, everybody.